My name is Sarah, and I'm 26 years old. If you met me on the street, you might think I was a girl blessed by fortune. Reasonably young, with above-average looks and dressed decently. You might guess I had just left a nice cafe and was on my way to meet a friend or head to a yoga class. You would never imagine that I am a gambler saddled with $1.2 million in debt, a walking corpse who has to chug cheap beer every night just to get a few hours of fitful sleep. A female gambler who, at this age, has lost a sum colossal enough to shatter the hopes of several lifetimes. I imagine there aren't many of us. The past 3 years have been like a blender spiraling out of control, pulverizing my once enviable life into dust. My story must begin with my highlight reel, because only then can you understand the totality of my fall. I am an only child, raised in an affluent middle-class family in New York. My father ran a small but successful building materials company, and my mother was a department head at a well-known nonprofit. They poured all their love and resources into me. I attended the best private schools, spent my holidays in Europe, and never had to worry about money. Their love was sometimes like a warm-down duvet, and at other times like a heavy, gilded cage. My 18th birthday was the watershed moment of my life. At a cozy family party, amidst the well wishes of friends and relatives, my father handed me an elegant envelope. Inside wasn't a check, but a set of keys and a document. It was the deed to a suburban apartment, valued at $350,000, paid in full. Sarah, my father's voice swelled with pride, this is your gift for coming of age and your starting point. We want you to have a safe harbor of your own, so that from now on, no matter what you do, you'll always have a place to come back to. I remember being struck by both immense happiness and an indescribable sense of panic. I hugged my parents, tears streaming down my face. Everyone thought they were tears of joy, but I was the only one who knew how much confusion and fear for the future was mixed in. They had paved my path, even handed me a finish line that many strive their entire lives to reach. And I, besides being their good daughter, seemed to have nothing to do and knew how to do nothing. I spent 4 years at a good liberal arts college, majoring in art history, a beautiful but impractical field. After graduation, unlike my classmates who fought tooth and nail for internships or crammed into tiny shared apartments in the city, I lived in my spacious, sunlit apartment. Time felt as abundant as running water from a tap. I tried working at a gallery but couldn't stand the tedious administrative tasks. I tried freelance writing, but my procrastination left me paralyzed before every deadline. My boyfriend, Mark, a gentle and kind software engineer, was one of the few stable elements in my life. We had been together since college. He was completely devoted to me, accepting my innate sense of superiority and my unrealistic fantasies. "Don't rush, Sarah," he would always say. "You just haven't found what you truly want to do yet." And that truly want to do thing eventually arrived in the form of a sweet disaster. In early 2020, the shadow of the pandemic began to fall over the world. Watching the ever-changing numbers on the news and the increasingly desolate streets, an unprecedented anxiety seized me. I couldn't go on being so aimless. I had to prove that I wasn't just a parasite living off my parents. The idea came to me one afternoon. I was baking a birthday cake for Mark, and seeing the blissful expression on his face as he tasted it, a thought lit up my mind. I'll open a cake shop. A place filled with sunshine, the aroma of buttercream, and happiness. It seemed like a perfect plan, aligning with my artistic taste while brimming with commercial potential. When I laid out my business plan for my parents, their eyes shone with relief. Perhaps they too had grown tired of my aimless freedom. They were a little worried about the pandemic's impact, but my enthusiasm won them over. They gave me $25,000 as startup capital. "Go give it a try," my father said. "It doesn't matter if you lose it. Just think of it as gaining experience." I threw myself into it heart and soul. I rented a storefront in a decent neighborhood, personally designed the mint green walls and rustic wooden furniture, and ordered top-of-the-line baking equipment from Italy. In the weeks leading up to the opening, I worked late into the night, covered in flour and powdered sugar, but my heart was incredibly full. It felt like I was touching real life for the first time. However, reality slapped me hard across the face. Less than a month after opening, our city began a series of intermittent lockdowns. The streets were empty. The various cakes and pastries I had meticulously prepared sat waiting forlornly in the display case until they expired, and I had to throw them into the trash with my own hands. The initial investment plan was to break even in 6 months. Now, forget profit, the daily rent and utilities were a black hole, constantly swallowing my startup funds. Mark would come to the shop after work to keep me company. He would clumsily help me clean up, and then buy all the leftover cakes for the day. He always comforted me. "It'll get better, Sarah. It's just bad timing." But I knew it wasn't just about timing. Watching over an empty shop day after day, my confidence was being ground into dust. My parents' investment and Mark's comfort became an invisible pressure, making me feel like a complete and utter failure. To save myself, I started looking for a way out online. I joined a Discord group called the Small Business Owners Alliance, hoping to learn some online marketing strategies. At first, the discussions were normal, with people sharing how to use social media to attract customers and how to build e-commerce websites. But gradually, the tone of the group began to shift. Some successful people with flashy avatars started sharing their side hustles. They would casually post screenshots of staggering profit numbers, followed by a link to a gambling website. "The main business is too hard. Just play this for a bit, and you've got the day's rent covered," one message read. At first, I scoffed at it. Online gambling? Wasn't that for scammers and desperados? But slowly, these messages became more frequent, and more people chimed in. They shared all sorts of winning memes and discussed unbeatable strategies. The whole chat was filled with a feverish, bizarre energy. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, the shop was empty again. I had just argued with a supplier over an expensive cream order, and after hanging up, I bickered with Mark over something trivial. I felt an unprecedented wave of frustration and anger, as if the whole world was against me. Just then, a new link popped up in the Discord group with the message, "Newbie bonus, register for a $100 trial credit. Follow the mentor tonight and easily double your money." I don't know if it was out of rebellion, desperation, or sheer boredom, but as if possessed, I clicked on it. The website was beautifully designed, with flashy animations and tempting odds that were dazzling. I registered with a fake name and claimed the $100 trial credit. I followed the so-called mentor in the group into a game called Lucky Express. The rules were so simple you didn't need to think. Just bet on numbers, with a new draw every minute. I bet the entire $100. When the countdown ended, a spectacular firework effect exploded on the screen, and my account balance instantly became $200. My heart skipped a beat. I bet again, and 200 turned into 400. That feeling, it was like an electric current shot through my entire body, dispelling all the gloom and unhappiness. That night, I closed the shop and went back to my empty apartment. I didn't cook or watch TV. I transferred $100 from my own bank account. This time, I was going to play for real. I completely forgot the mentor's guidance and started betting based on my own gut feeling. A miracle happened. My luck was incredible, and the numbers in my account skyrocketed. 500, 1,000, 5,000. When the balance hit $2,000, I pressed the withdraw button. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed with a bank notification. At that moment, I felt like I had discovered a secret of the world, a shortcut to wealth that bypassed all effort and hardship. The cake shop's failure, the fight with my boyfriend, all my real-world troubles seemed insignificant. I didn't sleep a wink that night. One moment I was sitting up in bed, opening my banking app to repeatedly confirm the $2,000 deposit. The next I was lying down, staring at the ceiling, fantasizing about a future of lavish spending. It was an excitement more intense and thrilling than being in love, more potent than any sense of accomplishment. I didn't realize it then, but that was the devil of addiction, flashing its first smile at me. From that day on, my life was split in two. By day, I was still the morose cake shop owner. By night, I transformed into a queen who dominated the digital world. I started frequenting the website, very cautiously at first, depositing only $100 or $200 at a time and stopping as soon as I won. And that platform, it seemed to know me better than I knew myself. A few days after I registered, I received a phone call. "Hello, is this Ms. Sarah? This is your dedicated account manager, Leo." The voice on the other end was young, pleasant, and had a well-trained warmth, more professional than any customer service agent from a bank or airline I had ever spoken to. "Hello," I said, a little flattered. "I noticed you've had some excellent luck on our platform recently." "Congratulations," Leo said. "To show our appreciation for your support, the platform has decided to gift you an additional $500 in chips. We hope it brings you even more good fortune." I was stunned. I won their money, and not only were they not angry, they were giving me more. "Also," he continued, "I see that your withdrawals are usually small, which is very wise. But if you have a need for a large withdrawal in the future, to avoid any unnecessary risk control reviews from the bank, I suggest you use cryptocurrency for transactions. I can walk you through how to do it step by step. It's very simple and secure." In the following weeks, Leo became my most intimate friend. He would call me regularly to ask about my winnings, comfort me when I lost, give me inside tips and betting advice, and constantly award me bonus chips under various pretexts. My father was a businessman, and all the commercial pleasantries I had picked up over the years were now used in my interactions with Leo. I developed a ridiculous sense of trust and gratitude for this man I had never met. I was an irredeemable fool, being slowly strangled by a gentle noose, yet I thought it was a blessing from God. Good luck doesn't last forever, especially in a meticulously designed scam. A month later, I lost everything I had won, along with my initial capital. Not only that, but I started maxing out my credit cards. When both my cards were maxed out and I owed a total of $25,000 to several cash loan apps, I finally came to my senses. Panic washed over me like a tidal wave. I didn't dare tell anyone, especially my parents. I tried to borrow money from friends, but $25,000 was no small sum, and the excuses I fabricated were full of holes. With nowhere else to turn, during a family dinner one weekend, I confessed. I still remember the scene. When I said, I lost $25,000 gambling, the smile on my father's face froze instantly. His knife and fork clattered onto his plate with a piercing sound. My mother's eyes filled with shock and disbelief. To my surprise, they didn't yell or scold me. After a short silence, my mother spoke first, her voice trembling. Sarah, tell us what happened. Did someone scam you? I told them everything, crying. After listening, my father let out a long sigh. He didn't press for details. Instead, he started comforting me, saying that it was normal for young people to make mistakes, and the important thing was to learn from it. They were more worried that I would be psychologically scarred. That confession was forgiven so easily. The next day, my father gave me a check to pay off all my debts. The incident felt like a stone tossed into a lake, creating a ripple that quickly subsided. But beneath the calm surface, a more turbulent undercurrent was flowing. My parents' forgiveness, instead of being my salvation, became my pass for the next fall. The cleared debt didn't bring relief, but a delusion of a reset. The devil inside me whispered, see? It's no big deal. If the sky falls, your parents will be there to hold it up. I verbally promised my parents and Mark that I had deleted the website and blocked Leo's number. In reality, I just created a new account with a new identity and slipped back into that world. This time I told myself I would be smarter, more disciplined. As long as I wasn't greedy and just won a little each day to slowly win back what I'd lost. However, the essence of gambling is the loss of control. After a few months of winning and losing on the platform, my emotions were completely held hostage by the fluctuating numbers. The euphoria of winning and the irritability of losing turned me into an unpredictable monster. The platform was like an experienced animal tamer, precisely mastering my psychology. When I was on a losing streak, Leo's call would always come at the right time, offering me a rollover bonus. When I was on a winning streak, he would urge me to increase my bets and press my advantage. My bets grew from a few $100s back to a few thousand, even tens of thousands. Soon, I had not only lost all my savings, but had once again turned to online lending platforms. High-interest credit cards, payday loan apps, online personal loans. I was like a frantic vampire, piecing together $100,000 from dozens of different sources. On Christmas Eve that year, outside the window were the sounds of neighbors' fireworks and laughter. My parents were in the living room watching a classic holiday movie, the air filled with the scent of roast turkey and cinnamon. I, however, had locked myself in my room, my eyes bloodshot, staring at my phone's screen. I refused to accept defeat. The thought, I can win it all back on the next bet, coiled around my sanity like a venomous snake. My mom knocked on the door, calling me to join the celebration. I acted as if I hadn't heard her. It wasn't until she pushed the door open and saw my disheveled state that I mumbled an excuse about not feeling well. The next day, Mark came to visit, cheerfully carrying the Christmas gift he had prepared for me. For some reason, a surge of anger flared up in me, and I pushed both him and his gift out the door. My parents quickly pulled him back in, while I sat like an ice sculpture in the corner, silent. Mark had no idea what he had done wrong. He awkwardly finished lunch and left in a hurry. After he left, he sent me a string of apologetic texts. I didn't read a single one. My dad gave me a few $100s in a red envelope for Christmas. Holding it, I felt an overwhelming sense of irony. Compared to the tens of thousands I was winning and losing at the gambling table, this amount wasn't even enough for a single bet. That night, I didn't eat. Alone in my room, my suppressed emotions finally erupted, and I started smashing things. The lamp, picture frames, makeup. I swept them all to the floor. After the destruction, a huge wave of regret and fear seized me. My mom heard the noise and rushed in. Seeing the mess and me in tears, she assumed it was about Mark. Did he hurt you? Sarah, tell Mom. Finally, my dad came in too. Under their questioning, I broke down again. I cried and told them I had gambled again. This time, I owed $100,000. I will never forget the look in my father's eyes. There was no anger, only a bottomless disappointment and exhaustion. He was silent for so long that I thought he was going to give up on me. Finally, he said, Sarah, the things online are scams. Why don't you understand? They talked to me for a long time that night. They explained the scams of gambling websites and the dangers of addiction. In the end, my father took out a piece of paper and had me write a letter of guarantee, detailing how I would overcome my addiction, including seeking therapy and attending Gamblers Anonymous meetings. I signed it and put my thumbprint on it. A few days later, my father used some of his company's reserve funds to pay off all my debts again. That $100,000 was no small sum for my family. I could feel that this was the absolute limit of what they could bear. In the spring of 2023, I started pretending to have turned over a new leaf. I did attend a few Gamblers Anonymous meetings, listening to people with stories similar to mine. For a moment, I thought I was saved. I started seriously looking for a job and sent out dozens of resumes. But reality dealt me another heavy blow. My art history degree was useless in the job market, and my virtually non-existent work experience got me rejected from one interview after another. I hoped to find an easy, stable job with a salary of $50,000 or $60,000 a year, but for me, that was an extravagant hope. To keep my parents from worrying, I started to lie. I told them I had found a curator position at an online gallery and could work from home. They believed me and were greatly relieved. But one lie needs more lies to cover it. My parents started asking subtle questions about my job and my salary. I couldn't keep this up forever. It was then that the most terrifying idea, like a poisonous seed, began to sprout in my mind again. As if possessed, I once again placed my hopes on online gambling. My logic was absurd yet seductive. I wouldn't try to win big. I would just earn a salary. I remembered I had won tens of thousands in a single day before, so now if I just won $200 a day, treating it as my daily wage, that would be fine, right? As long as I strictly followed my discipline, it wasn't gambling, it was work. Using a new identity, I logged onto a new platform. At first, things seemed to go as I planned. I carefully placed my bets each day and could easily win $200 or $300. I transferred this money to my bank account to prove my income to my parents and Mark. After 2 months of this stability, I became complacent again. I completely forgot the scene of me crying while writing the guarantee, forgot the pained faces at the Gamblers Anonymous meetings. A salary of $200 a day no longer satisfied me. My goal became $500, then $1,000. A gambler's fate is to be emotionally stable when winning, and to completely lose control once they start losing. On a seemingly ordinary night, I lost my target for the day. Unwilling to accept it, I increased my bet and then lost more. The win it all back in one go devil took over my brain again. What followed was like a nightmare from which I couldn't wake. In just a few short months, I went completely insane. I cried as I borrowed money from one online lending platform after another. The interest rates were astronomical, but at the time I didn't care. I was just a crazed machine. Borrow, bet, lose, borrow again. I used the apartment my parents gave me as collateral to get large loans from illegal private lenders. When all my borrowing channels dried up, I thought of Mark. I called him, crying, and fabricated a bizarre story about an art investment project that had failed and that I urgently needed money to cover the losses. Although Mark was suspicious, my desperate pleas made him transfer his entire savings of $25,000 to me. "Sarah," he said, "this is everything I have. I hope it helps you get through this." That money evaporated in my gambling account in less than half an hour. It wasn't until the collection calls and emails came like an avalanche that I was forced to stop. I locked myself in the apartment, took out a pen and paper, and with trembling hands, added up the debts from every platform. Credit cards, $120,000. High-interest loan apps, $350,000. Private lenders, $500,000. Mark, $25,000. When I pressed the equals button on the calculator and the final number appeared on the screen, I felt the whole world stop. $1,217,548. Over $1.2 million. I collapsed onto the floor, feeling as if all the blood had been drained from my body. I was finished. This time, no one could save me. Not unless I sold this apartment, but that wouldn't be nearly enough. Besides, the deed was locked in my mother's bedroom safe, and I couldn't get to it. I had once snuck into their room late at night like a thief, trying to crack the safe's combination, using every birthday and anniversary I could think of, but I failed. That small metal door was like the final judgment on my fate. Now, what you see is the finish line of my life. I live in the most precious gift I ever received on my 18th birthday, but it is no longer a safe harbor. It is a gilded prison. I dare not open the curtains, afraid to see the sunlight. I dare not answer any unknown calls, because it's likely another debt collector. I dare not face my parents or Mark. I don't know how to face the trust and love that I personally tore to shreds. I am cut off from the world, my only companions the 2 bottles of cheap beer I drink every night. Only under the numbness of alcohol can I temporarily forget the astronomical debt, forget how I turned from a golden child into a liar and a gambler whom I myself despise. I often think of the innocent, happy, carefree girl I used to be. The girl who would be moved by a painting in a gallery. The girl who would rejoice over baking a perfect cake. Where did she go? And who am I? I am writing my story down not to seek sympathy, and certainly not to find excuses. I just want to use my completely destroyed life to give the most real and brutal warning to anyone who might be standing on the edge of a cliff. Online gambling is not a game. It is a meticulously designed, soul-devouring trap. It will exploit all your weaknesses, your greed, your frustration, your wishful thinking. It will give you a little taste of sweetness first, making you think you are in control, and then, when you are at your most vulnerable and most frantic, it will swallow you whole, leaving not even the bones. If you're going through a struggle similar to mine right now, please stop immediately. Ask for help from those you love, seek professional help. Don't think you can control it. Don't think you are the exception. In the face of gambling, no one is an exception. I don't know what my tomorrow will bring. Perhaps a visit from a collection agency, perhaps the look of complete devastation in my parents' eyes when they discover the truth, or perhaps, on some desperate night, choosing the most cowardly way to end it all. I am only 26 years old, and my life is already over.